Okay, I guess we will all get started. If you can't hear me, please let me know. I have a very loud voice, so I think I can project well enough. My name is Ellen Hamilton. I'm the legislative assistant for Congresswoman Judy Chu for California's 27th district, which is Pasadena, for those of you who aren't familiar with California's rundown of districts. So first of all, I want to say thank you to the American Society of Acupuncturists and the American Alliance for Professional Acupuncture Society for hosting this briefing today. I know my boss is incredibly excited to have so many practicing acupuncturists on the Hill today actually practicing acupuncture. This is going to be I believe a first time for the Hill, so this is an exciting day. So thank you all for being here. First, I want to say I'd like to apologize on behalf of Congresswoman Chu. She cannot be here. She is in the middle of a tax reform markup, so that is taking up the bulk of her week, likely into the wee hours of this morning. So she apologizes for not being able to be here. Acupuncture has been very close to her heart since the days in the California State Legislature, and she is excited to see more members of Hill staff learn about the benefits of this incredible practice. So the Congresswoman is incredibly committed to expanding access to acupuncture. We actually have a bill introduced right now, HR 2838, the Acupuncture for Our Heroes Act. This bill would ensure acupuncture access at a Veterans Affairs facility. So, with the opioid crisis booming, which I'm sure our panel will talk a lot about today, veterans actually have higher rates of pain and higher rates of opioid usage than the general population. So they're an incredibly vulnerable population, and we like to see them have the ability to access non-invasive, non-addictive treatments. So that's what our bill would do. If any of your bosses are interested, please send me an email, ellen.hamilton. We would love to have as much support as possible on this issue. So that's about all I have. Again, thank you so much for coming. We are excited to keep pushing acupuncture as a great alternative to prescription pain medication, and we can't wait to hear from our incredible panel. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you so much. And we want to extend a heartfelt thank also to Congressman Tim Ryan's office and Congressman Ryan for also helping get us here, sponsor the day, and make this possible. So we're going to have the day broken up into a couple segments. And so we're going to have lunch, obviously, now, too, and we invite you to get some free acupuncture treatments and experience acupuncture if you haven't, or take a few minutes to hopefully get some relaxation. We have a team here from the surrounding states who've come in to provide you that service. They're all licensed acupuncturists, professionally trained. But before we do that, we have a guest who's been generous enough to come share her story with us. So I'd like to invite Terry Wynn up she lost her son to an overdose in September of last year and has personally experienced the pain of opioid addiction and opioid problems, and we're going to be speaking so much about. Sure, watch your step here. Okay.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? I'm not a public speaker, but this is near and dear to my heart. One evening, my son, at 22 years old, came to me and he said, "I need help. I'm a heroin addict, Mom," and I had no idea. So we called, it was a Friday evening, we called everywhere, we couldn't find a detox facility anywhere. I was told not to come to the hospital, that we couldn't do it there. So him and I bunkered down for the evening, and I experienced the worst I could ever experience with my son withdrawing from heroin. During the wee hours of the morning, he threw up so violently that he popped a hole in his esophagus. And we medevaced him to Johns Hopkins trauma, and the amazing group of doctors there saved him. They not only helped his esophagus heal, but they got him through the withdrawals without hurting his esophagus more. So it was a week and a half in ICU, and he was on the other side, and he basically came out of it and looked at all of his family standing there and said, "I love you all so much. I missed you very, very much," during his heroin addiction. Then the team of doctors came in, and they sat us down, and they told us that the only way he would recover from heroin addiction was to start on Suboxone right away. And my son was extremely intelligent. He had done so much research because he tried to kick it by himself. And he looked after the doctors left, he looked at us and he said, "I don't want to be on any more drugs. I don't want any more drugs." So for the next 3 days, we counteracted what the doctors were saying, and we said, no, we don't want any Suboxone. He wants to try and get into a recovery program, counseling, addiction counseling, outpatient, inpatient, whatever else, but we don't want to go back on drugs. This is almost a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. I had not been away from his side the entire time, so I went home to take a shower, and I think I was gone for an hour. When I came back, he had been administered with Suboxone, and they had come in and convinced him to take Suboxone. And I know at the time in their hearts they thought that was the best chance he had, but they also told me the chances were 1% with the Suboxone that he would conquer heroin. So I left the hospital extremely upset, and then we went into another year of nightmare where he would go to try and fulfill his Suboxone and be treated with disrespect and turned down. One day he went to 3 drugstores trying to get his Suboxone, and every one of them turned him down. And then he couldn't get a hold of the outpatient doctors, and it was just a nightmare, and he didn't want to be on the drug anyway. He knew it was another narcotic. The story goes on, and we eventually got into some inpatient treatments, and he was finally diagnosed with PTSD. But this was a year and a half after we started at Johns Hopkins. During his inpatient care, one of the times he did experience acupuncture, and when he called me, he felt that was such an incredibly effective tool. He wished he could continue it, but they weren't really offering it on a regular basis there. Unfortunately, our story doesn't end as great as we would hope, in that he died from an accidental overdose of pure fentanyl, no heroin at all. But in my healing and my recovery from the grief, I have been seeing Dr. Callie. I think you all know Dr. Callie Guyman, and she has done incredible things. Grief can cause a lot of physical ailments and a lot of mental ailments, and acupuncture has been my savior right now. And I really, really feel that if we had had access to acupuncture a year and a half ago, my son would still be here. So I'm glad you're all here. Thank you to all of you acupuncturists out there, because I really think we're on to something that will help this opioid crisis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for being so generous to share your story, and we're so sorry. So we will take time now. If you have not experienced acupuncture, we have it all set up for you here. We're just doing auricular or ear acupuncture today, so you don't need to disrobe. You can stay fully, formally dressed and enjoy that. Please enjoy your lunch if you have not done that yet also. And then we'll start back up at 1 o'clock with the formal presentation. All right, so thank you for coming, and please stay.